right. Despite admitting decades ago he never took part, Joe Biden continues to repeat lies about his involvement in the 1960s civil rights movement.
I got very engaged, in my case, in the civil rights movement. And as a kid, I worked a lot in the movement.
Monday in Pennsylvania, Biden claimed yet again his involvement in civil rights marches and activities. In 1987, Biden admitted during a campaign speech he was never involved in the civil rights movement.
During the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware. I was involved in what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
Now, last year, during a White House event, Biden said, quote, he came out of the civil rights movement. A year earlier, during a town hall, he said he was involved in desegregating restaurants. All claims have been proven as lies. In 1988, then Senator Joe Biden was forced to drop out of the Democratic presidential primaries after allegedly plagiarizing speeches and misrepresenting his academic record. Well, let's talk with the president and co-founder of Every Black Lives Matter, Kevin McGary. Kevin, welcome to Victory News. President Biden persists in lying about his participation in civil rights marches and protests. Why do you think he continues to do this?
It's unbelievable. First, I want to thank you for having me here. It's a real honor and a privilege for me. Joe Biden, this continues his record. I mean, he lies with facility throughout the decades that he's been an official. I mean, and so now we see he's lacking a little bit, and these lies just seem to roll off his lips. The reality is that he stood with the Grand Cyclops of the KKK a number of times. And actually delivered a eulogy for him. I think it was Robert Byrd. And I believe what he said in 1987, which was, look, I was a bystander. I saw what was happening with the civil rights movement, but I did nothing. I think we should take him at his word, his earlier word, not at his later words, because we see now he's trying to provide a little revisionist spin on that.
Well, I've interviewed Alveda King, so I guess I can say, never mind. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas issues a challenge to the White House press secretary regarding illegal immigration. Listen to this.
Come to this border, spend 60 minutes, 1 hour, with me and the Border Patrol Union. If we don't encounter anyone, I'll stand up and say I was wrong. But when we encounter hundreds of people crossing, do you have the courage and integrity to stand in front of the press corps you're lying to and say, I lied to you?
Now, surprisingly, she's not interested in visiting. So why do you think the Biden administration continues to leave the southern border wide open and let anybody who wants to come in? Why do they do this?
Well, it's real clear. They actually have an agenda. It's actually well formulated. It's strategic. They know that a lot of people have left their party. It seems that once people have children, get older, and actually have responsibilities, even if they're diehard leftists, they have a tendency to look at life in from a different lens at that point, and they make the shift over to a more conservative or a conservative moderate type of position. And so they have to import people from all over the world that are, many of which are illiterate in their own language, bring them here, and then allow them free access to our voting systems, which they're doing in a lot of places, especially like here in California, where they send ballots to every single mailbox. And then allow these people to vote, to really neutralize or disenfranchise, if you will, the vote of legal American citizen voters. So this is one of the instances where we have a real human rights travesty. And then we have Joe Biden and his all of his people in his administration that seem perfectly okay with allowing incentivizing young women and children to come up, be raped multiple times along the trek, and then also allow these people, many of which who have COVID, to go into our communities. This is real dereliction at a level that we haven't seen in forever. And I think the 1 million number is also a skewed number. I think it's more like the 5 million number that Farrah told us it was.
Okay. Kevin, you formed an organization, Every Black Life Matters. that has to be a little controversial. What's your mission?
Yeah, so our mission is to be the righteous and faithful alternative to Black Lives Matter. When we saw all of the riots and all of the violence and the vitriol and the looting and the burning of Black and brown businesses and churches marching with that organization, we realized that, look, this is a bridge too far. I think people really do want to help the Black community and plights that they endure. Everybody saw the George Floyd murder and they wanted to do something about it. So we came up with Every Black Life Matters, which really illuminates the issue. What it illuminates is the fact that Margaret Sanger, when she started Planned Parenthood, said, we are here because we want to thoroughly exterminate the Negro population. And unfortunately, that mission has been carried out to a T. And so what we're saying, essentially, for all of your listeners and viewers, is, look, if you believe all lives matter and every life matters, that's exactly what we're saying, because we're saying every Black life matters. So stop the strategic targeting of the Black babies in the womb and this perpetual Black genocide that's been on the Black family for the past 50 years. And let's really have a conversation about all lives mattering. We have other ethnicities born at this rate and Blacks born at this rate. This is a real human rights travesty as well. And we need to be sincere in doing something about it.
Okay, you're absolutely right. I'm glad that you've done this and you're speaking out about it. Now, when we come back in the next segment with you, I want to ask you about the book you wrote about wokeness and what all that's about. So we'll come to that in a minute. All right, let's talk with the president and co-founder of Every Black Life Matters, Kevin McGary, one more time here. Kevin, last week, the White House press secretary said people do not just walk across our southern border. Now she confirmed she's uninterested in visiting it. But the Border Patrol and states along the border confirmed the flood of illegals into America. So who's telling the truth, Kevin?
Well, the truth is when we see all of the videos, especially the drone footage, we see all of the testimonies coming from congressmen and senators who have visited the border. The administration, Biden, Harris, this press secretary, they haven't been to the border. So they have no capacity for truth on this issue. They haven't seen it. They haven't been there. And by their own admission, they haven't been there. And for them, it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not happening. And so from their perspective, with trying to maintain a little modicum of consistency within their own conscience, it's better for them not to go and not see the carnage, so they can just continue to say, oh, the border's fully secure, everything's fine. These people are lie with facility and are really deceptive and mean-spirited. I mean, anybody who would see the carnage coming across our border and not feel empathy for these people who are just seeking a better life, but a lot of them, especially over the past 4 or 5 days, have been drowning. This is men, women, children, and this administration continues to provide the inducement of an open border so these people can put their life at risk, life and limb at risk. This is just a travesty on us all sides. It's irresponsible.
I mentioned it earlier, but I want to ask you about it now. You've written a book entitled Woke Up. Tell us why you wrote it.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you could see it, but so I wrote the book because we hear a lot about, especially from wokesters, right? They're in there. They're talking about you white supremacists, you white nationalists, you privileged folks. We even hear within the body of Christ, within the church, people calling us Christian nationalists and this kind of thing. So I wanted to do some investigation as to the real roots of wokeism. Where did it come from and how is it here? And so that led me to look at Karl Marx, but because everybody would agree that wokeism is embedded and rooted in Marxism. But even before that, I was really divinely prompted to look at his sort of mentor. And that led me to Charles Robert Darwin. So when I looked at Darwin and his workings, he is the literal taproot of white supremacy and racism. So why would I say that? Wasn't white supremacy and racism or supremacy of any type going on before Darwin? Of course it was. Since the fall of man in the garden, we've seen supremacy, we've seen ethnic stripe and tribalism and all that. However, Darwin was the one who actually literally wrote in his works in The Descent of Man that we have to protect sort of our white, Aryan, supreme sort of genealogy. And blacks, by the way, are subhuman, apes, gorillas, and savages. So that distinction was made. And that is the genesis in our modern day of white supremacy and racism, Charles Darwin. And I have all of the letters, notes, and footnotes within the book. And so this literally turns wokeism on its head, and it gives you, as a person who's reading this book, the ability now to go and fully educate your children, grandchildren, and all those who are calling you white supremacists, and help them to understand that, look, those who would embrace fully wokeism, rooted in white supremacy and racism, because Marx was even worse than Darwin, if you can believe that, as it relates to racism. So it's those who would hold firm to those types of belief systems that are truly, without equivocation. Now, this is not ad hominem to ad hominem. They call us a white supremacist. We call it, no. This is matter of fact, based on definitions, that they're the ones truly embracing white supremacy and racism. So it's an important read. It gives all of your readers and viewers context for how to view our current cycle, and really help bring their children, grandchildren, community members along with leaving sort of the woke plantation and moving on to a more unified existence.
Kevin, I am so glad you did this, because if you'll find an original copy of Darwin's book, you'll see it. It's in there. Now they've edited all that out now. Okay, real quickly on this, listen to this Philadelphia woman's comment on daily life in the city of brotherly love.
I'm scared to come out my home. We all are. When I come out, I have to look around. I'm noticing, like, if you hear loud noise, you start getting scared. Who wants to live like that?
Crime is on the rise in major cities. People are living in greater fear. What do you think it will take to make America's streets safe again? We've got under a minute here.
Yeah, okay. So what we need to do is to completely refund and then put additional monies on top of that for our police forces, our law enforcement forces in these communities. Number two, we need to get rid of the no cash bail, no bail type of laws that have been passed over the past couple of years as well. So those are the big issues that are really impacting these inner city communities, urban communities. And for us to do something about it, we need to re-empower law enforcement within those cities so we can make our streets safe again.
Kevin McGary, you got to get the book, people. You've got to get the book and give it to your children and your grandchildren. And he's the co-founder of, there it is, there's the book, get it. Get it wherever books are sold, and the co-founder of Every Black Lives Matter. Thank you. It's been very enlightening and informative. Thanks for being with us today.
EveryBLM.com.
Yes, sir.